ability to be great. You have to be willing to activate the great from within. It starts with you, and it starts right now. What up? Greg Thomas here with Tyler Davis.
Back at it.
Yeah, good morning for everybody. Good Monday morning. Just loving life.
That's what it is right there, man. Wake up with excitement.
Isn't it a great time of year? I mean, everything, the leaves are back.
Oh, man.
Things are green again.
You open the window and birds are singing.
Oh, yeah. No, it's good.
It absolutely is.
I think those acknowledgments and those things that you notice, they're very healthy things to kind of slow things down a little bit. Take it in.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Acknowledge it's there and then enjoy it.
Maybe take a breath or two.
Yep.
You know, that's something that's with you from the day that you're born to the day that you die is your breath.
Right.
And then I was listening to Jay Shetty, my guy, Mastermind Council up there, talking about how when he was in monk school, he saw this young monk that was like 10 years old teaching children that were, becoming monks. And their first lesson was their breath.
Yeah.
And they got in tune with their breath and how to breathe and how to use that as a superpower.
And it is. I mean, when you start digging into meditation and things like that, that is one of the first things that you focus on. And it seems so like elementary and basic, but it's something we do every day and we take it for granted.
It's a way that you can find the benefit, find the value in isolation. Right? What is the power of being with my breath? And that's it. Right. What is the power of that? Yeah. It's super is what it is. And I kind of want a little play on the words with the isolation pieces because when we hear the word isolate, it's usually not a good thing.
Right. Because of the spin that has been put on it.
Or, in what we do to ourselves.
That's a big one right there.
That's it. And what we're going to talk about today is like the self-inflicted wounds within isolation.
Yeah, that's a scary place to go for a lot of people because of what happens.
Or it's perceived to happen.
Right.
We get on these loops.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And we start creating this reality.
Yep.
And you isolate yourself even more. Right?
The stories that
you're telling yourself, the things, your mind movie. Mm-hmm. If you think that you don't do it, you do it.
Yeah.
It's consuming you, actually. If you this is something that you're like, no, I don't do that. The Matrix has you. We're finding a theme there, right? I mean, you've surrendered.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, you've just given and said, this is just the way it is.
Well, not even that. Like, you're in the movie. You don't even know. You're like, what's a mind movie?
Right.
I'm going about, where's my Orange Julius?
Right. Gosh, Orange Julius.
Come on. But, I spend a lot of time in isolation. In my mind, in the bondage of my mind.
Guilty.
And it's a human condition.
It is.
It's not a Tyler thing. It's not a Greg thing. It's not a Grant thing.
Nope.
You're going to hear us talking about human condition, and we're even working on some really big content in a big way to get out to the masses about the human condition code. Okay. You have to be able to separate you from these things. You're being left to your own devices and you might be beating yourself up a little bit.
Oh man, we definitely beat ourselves up. I know I've been guilty of that many times over the years. It still happens.
Yes.
But it's becoming more self-aware, and now I'm able to recognize it for what it is.
And faster.
Correct.
And you spend less time there.
Right.
Folks, we're not moving a mountain in a day. We're looking for 1 to 3% incremental improvement.
Right.
Catch yourself a little faster. A little faster. And we got 3 ways here that, we want to kind of call out how we isolate ourselves. Okay, and we're going to give you some calls to action to, run with it. How can I counterbalance this, counteract this? Let's get into it. 3 ways we isolate ourselves. Number 1, we think others wouldn't understand.
That's a big one. That's big. Like, how could they understand? I'm going through this alone.
Oh, yeah, step by step. No one's been with me step by step, fill in the blank, whatever I'm going to say to keep myself here.
Right. The wild thing is when I have allowed myself to be vulnerable and opened up, it's amazing how many other people can relate.
Part of us feels like we deserve to be in that misery.
Oh, for sure.
Like suffering is what, being a human's all about.
Oh man, my alcoholism and those years that I suppressed everything and made that a part of who I was and the habit, that was a repeating line in my mind was like, I deserve this. You deserve this.
Thought loop.
You deserve this misery. Why? That's silly.
It's conditioning.
Yep. That's what it was.
And we do it to ourselves 1 to 3% a day. But the other direction,
right?
You didn't get there overnight. And these things that we sit here and talk about, like with the incremental improvement, we deteriorate incrementally as well.
Right.
Okay.
We're always in motion.
Yes.
It's our thoughts, habits, and actions that determine if we're moving forward or backwards.
Sure. Everything's in motion. And objects stay in motion. Which direction are you going?
Yep.
You know, so if you think others wouldn't understand, have grace with yourself just enough to maybe talk to somebody about it. I know I spent years in this space. You think you're weak. You think you're this. You think, I don't want anybody to weaponize this.
Right.
That's a big one.
And that can be a society thing, especially as men. Like, man, we're supposed to just walk it off.
Well, yeah, you know, and then you got the whole bullying aspect of things, you know what I mean? That's a real thing.
It is.
You know?
But how often do we bully ourselves?
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth, is that, you know, the reason that people think it's okay to treat someone in a certain way is because that individual does the same thing to themselves.
Right.
They're their own punching bag.
Right. It's a self-reflection.
Oh, man. I think about, like, the times and the dark times that I had in this space between my ears, and you know, it was not healthy. I fought through it. I kept it close to the vest. I thought it was, you know, weakness to talk about it, to share it, and to put it out there. And then when I would talk about it, I talk about it with the wrong people.
Yeah.
And then that keeps you there even more, because then you're like, oh, look, see, you know, I open up and da-da-da-da. Well,
yeah.
dude, you know.
Like, I knew that was going to happen, but you knew that ahead of time because you allowed it. You put it out there, like you said, to the wrong spot.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong place.
And really, when you're throwing it out there like that, I want you, you know, are you trying to solicit a response? Or are you really wanting guidance?
Right. Because a lot of times when we ask the question, we don't really want the answer.
Correct. So
we already know the answer.
On some level, right? So what I would say is, like, if you are going to, you know, venture out and maybe talk to a few people about it, maybe choose your candidate wisely, right? Who's someone that really isn't going to weaponize this, going and talking. I mean, you and I have a different relationship, you know what I mean? We've known each other for a really long time, so it's not like your normal dynamic, but there's certain people that you're around that you're not going to share that with. Correct. You know, because, hey, don't give even more of yourself. Right? But, like, if you think others won't understand, okay, so that's the disclaimer part, right? But, like, if you think others won't understand, you're asking for this suffering.
Yeah.
You're inviting it.
Right.
Next thing you know, 5 years goes by.
Just like that.
Thinking no one understands you. And you don't really understand yourself because you're just so far gone within a perception loop of a loop of a loop of a loop that's been stacked over months and days and years and all of it, you know. And
it's my favorite song. It's on repeat.
Oh, yeah. Ricky Repeater. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know, we do that to ourselves, though, because we haven't filled our brain with other things to take its place. Mm-hmm. So, you know, again, number one, we think others wouldn't understand, and you'd be surprised. Number two, we try to tackle things alone.
Man, why do we do that to ourselves? Like, there's a reason when you see military exercises, Navy SEAL training, for example, why do they have to share the weight of that log? There's a reason for that.
For sure.
But we emotionally try and carry all this weight on our own back, and then we wonder why we can't get anywhere.
Well, that's it, you know, and really what it comes down to is your ego's taking over.
Right. But all of that stuff just keeps us separated. Mm-hmm. I mean, the human condition, we are designed as a species to operate on relationship.
Yes.
On love. We need one another.
Correct.
Back to caveman days.
No doubt.
And then over the years, we have just separated ourselves further and further.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So, like, back in the day, lone wolf dies, right?
Yeah.
So, like, we advanced as a society, as a species, once we started
working
together. And that's why, you know, we've been able to have the success as a species. You know, I guess I'll use that term loosely, but, like, we've, compared to other species, we've, you know, thrived, you know. But when we go the opposite way, you're just asking for problems. Yeah. You're asking to be stuck. You're asking to feel, you know, like no one gets you, like no one understands. You know, there are professions that this is what their model is to help people come out of this, to snap out of it, like to come, hey, come on out, water, you know, it's nice and fresh out here, get some new air in them lungs.
And in no way are we saying that you don't need to spend some time alone. This is the opposite of that. This is those times when it's okay, when you're like, man, I don't feel right about this, I need to talk to somebody about it.
And it kind of comes back to the commitments. Commit to it. Right. You know, you're spending time when you seek out help from someone, whether it's a therapist, a coach, whatever it may be. You know, you are saying, I'm getting tactical with this. I am being intentional with this. You're having a strategy to figure it out.
Mapping out the blueprint of it.
Yeah, I just think when we try to, I'll get to that one day. Well, if that person, that accountability is going to get you there a heck of a lot faster. So we try to do that. It just doesn't work, people.
No.
I mean, I hired a coach, 2 of them, and it's been profound. Profound. You want to talk about leaps and bounds? You get excited. It will, what's our favorite word these days? Liberate you.
Yeah,
man.
It will
liberate you.
And the first step was you being open to that and acknowledging the fact that, hey, I need this.
Yes. And it kind of comes back to what, directly comes back to what we've talked about before. You self-assess from a good place, right?
Man.
And that's a nice segue into number 3.
Yeah.
We don't give ourselves grace.
No, we don't.
You want to, have grace with yourself, self-assess from a good place, and then you can open up the doors and find out how many people are actually in your corner.
Yeah, and that's a wild thing. I mean, to this day, it's something I battle with.
Sure.
We all do. To some extent, I catch myself, man, yeah, the mind is an interesting place. I'm allowing myself to explore the unknown. I mean, in my mind, sometimes I compare it to a maze. It's like you start down this one path and then you realize, oh, this isn't going to get me where I'm trying to go. So let me back it up.
It reminds me of V for Vendetta. Remember that movie?
Yes.
Right? And then she just pushes open the door, and it was never locked to begin with. That's your mind, peeps. That is your mind. So have the grace with yourself enough just to push the door open. You're not, it's a prison. What we're talking about, this isolation, is a self-imposed prison.
Right. You got the key in your hand the whole time.
You don't even need the key because it's not locked. Right? The door is open. Push it.
That's wild. And that says so much if you just stop and think about that. Because how many times, just like I just said about the maze, we run into that wall and we think, oh, now I got to go back and start over. When like what you're saying is maybe just try pushing through the door. You might be surprised. It might actually not be a wall at all. It's a mirage, man.
That's it. And that's what a lot of this is, and it starts with having grace with yourself, and realizing that, hey, these things that I'm dealing with, it does not make me a bad person.
No.
It doesn't make me damaged.
No.
And let's recognize the difference between damaged and calloused, right? We talked about this before.
Yes.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay. And you need to know the distinction. These are battle wounds. You know what I mean? Let your scars liberate you. Let them say, look, oh yeah, I remember. I love the fact that I worked through that.
You're right. I mean, I look down at my hands and I got these calluses right here, and it's not so that I'm guarded and don't move more weight. It's so that I can.
Sure.
So I can handle it. But mentally, we need to do that same thing and take these situations and realize, like, okay, yeah, now I'm stronger.
Oh yeah.
I've endured that. I'm ready for more.
Exactly. And it's a shift and it's intention. Have this intentional shift and watch what happens. So here's what we're going to do. A little call to action here, right? Yep. Okay, so how do we work on this stuff? How do we break out of this prison, if we will? How do we push the door,
Where do we start?
Where do we start? You start on YouTube and Google.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing what you can find. You can find out just about anything on these platforms. We highly suggest researching how many people might be dealing with something very similar, or have shared their experiences with it.
Right.
Maybe their message doesn't completely resonate, but a piece of it will.
Right. And at least you'll see that you're not alone.
Correct. And you realize maybe just want that, hey, maybe this isn't real.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm making this more than what it is right now.
Yeah, man.
And you know how you find out? Doing the research.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Right.
Go listen to YouTube. Little deal. It's amazing what's on there.
And scroll through the comments.
For real.
Don't take everything as gospel, but understand that I bet you'll be so amazed at how connected you'll feel because you're like, wow, I'm not alone.
And even if it's a fragment of it. A piece of truth. And that's what you're going to grab. You're going to start grabbing one piece of truth at a time.
Yes, because now we have access to these resources. I'll never forget the first time I went to AA. That was one of the biggest acknowledgments for me, because up until that point, I was isolating myself. And then here I am in a room full of 60 strangers. We all had the same story. Yeah. I had never felt more connected before. It was powerful.
And it's helpful, right? I mean,
super helpful.
That's why it works.
Right.
So research. Check it out. The answers are there. It's you wanting them. Yep. It's wanting to push that door open. Another call to action, if you will. You have more people in your corner than you think. Okay. And some people just don't know how to start a conversation with you. Let that land.
Yeah.
Okay.
And why is that?
I've done it. I've made myself unapproachable, and I've worked on it a lot, and I will continue to work on it because it's a journey. It's gonna be a lifelong journey. But man, like, make yourself a little more approachable.
Yep.
You know, be mindful of that. You know, and going to a therapist or hiring a coach is actually a sign of strength and maturity.
Yeah, it is.
Period. That's it. There's no debating.
Right.
You're not weak. You're not less than.
No, you're allowing.
You're greater than.
Yep.
And when you realize that you are greater than,
right,
then you see the value in doing these things, into reaching out to these people, and to say, hey, I'm going to extend a hand here. I need help.
Yep.
I don't want to do it alone anymore.
And that goes back to giving yourself grace.
Oh, man.
It's like, man, I deserve this. I deserve to set this weight down and get better.
That's it. So get to a therapist. Hire a coach.
Try it.
Get a men's group, ladies group, where you guys share things and you get things going, and you create this council of support, these pillars of support, and with people that are in your corner.
Right. You took the words out of my mouth. We all need to seek counsel more often. And you look back as far back in history, people have a council, whether that's your friends, that's a specific group. I mean,
look at organizations, board of directors.
Yes.
Come on. I mean, do this for ourselves. Let's go to the boardroom.
Right.
Let's map it out. Let's go. Mm-hmm. And from a good place, I can't say it enough. Do not self-assess from My Suck Island. Okay. We already know what happens. You end up talking to a volleyball. Okay.
Wilson.
Don't make. Hey, you got way more than Wilson in your life. I can tell you that.
That's
all right. And lastly, create a grace tracker and keep it simple. I want everyone here to just have a little pad of paper and a pen, and every time that you have grace with yourself and you cut yourself some slack. Now, I'm not saying don't run with this.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm having grace with myself. I called off work today. It's not what I'm talking about. Okay. Right. What I'm saying is when you're in the mix, when you're in the thick of your life, day in and day out, and there's these instances where you get caught up in a perception loop or you're stuck in your mind, just give yourself some grace about it and just mark it.
Yep.
1 mark, 2 marks. And you look
Simple
down.
as that.
Simple.
I acknowledged it.
And you're catching yourself. And once you wake up to a truth, you never go back to sleep.
Yeah.
You will not go back into that coma. You will not go back into the matrix.
Right.
Trust me.
Oh man, yeah, it's powerful. One of the best lessons my dad ever told me was, hey, if you make a mistake, that's fine. Learn the lesson in it. You know, it's not a mistake unless you repeat it.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's a lesson.
That's it. But we don't do that.
Yeah.
And I want to challenge everybody to start. It starts today. It starts with you, and it starts right now.
Yep.
Come on. Again, calls to action. YouTube and Google are your friends. You have more people in your corner than you think. Seek some help, okay? That grace tracker is a real thing, and we're going to find all these ways that we can free our mind. We don't have to be in this bondage. We don't have to isolate ourselves anymore. And there's way more than 3 ways we isolate ourselves, folks.
Yeah.
You know, this is not the end-all, be-all. This is just what stands out.
Yep. You're not alone out there.
You are not alone. We've never been alone. You've never been alone.
Powerful.
Let's go. We'll catch you next time.
Want to take a quick minute to thank our sponsor, ccmindiana.com, for all your mortgage needs. Very competitive, ready to rock, ready to help you be a pre-approved buyer that can compete. Ready to get pre-approved for your next mortgage? Stop by ccmindiana.com and see how we can help.